2. However, I think that I'm a huge believer in connection. And I believe connection is like your spirit recognizing its match. And it's very instant. When you speak to couples who said they experienced a connection, they'll tell you first conversation, first time meeting, first date, first week, it was pretty fast. So to me, the recognizing of something deeper being here can happen very quickly. But how we now cultivate that and how we move forward is where we need to take our time and make sure we're not rushing and overlooking certain important issues that need to be discussed and addressed first.
To me, it's the understanding of chemistry versus compatibility, and the idea that there needs to be a spark, there needs to be a connection that I feel with someone, like you're saying, on a deeper level. But I find that most people are not adept at knowing whether the connection they feel with someone is deeper or physical.
Yeah.
Like, I would say that it's easy you can often feel a spark if you meet a lot of people, you can feel a spark with a lot of people, but that doesn't mean that they're the right person to build a relationship with, right?
Yes. So connection to me is a very rare occurrence.
Right, yes.
So I feel that people who've actually experienced it, they can tell you maybe once in their life, if you're lucky, 2 times maybe, all right? But it's not this thing that happens with everybody. Whereas chemistry, feeling a spark, these things can happen with a lot of different people.
Yes.
So I do think there's this education that's needed to understand how we differentiate these things so that we don't confuse them. Because I see a lot of people take that chemistry and think, oh, this is it. This is the one. And it's like, but you had chemistry with the last 5 people. Why is this one the one and not them? So I do think we have to be careful with that.
Yeah, I think so. So we're on the same page. There's 3 things. There's connection on the deeper level. There's chemistry, which is like the spark on a more superficial level. And then there's compatibility, which is like what makes it last. And I can relate to that. With my wife, I definitely felt, so I'm one of those people who I kind of knew from the first few moments when I met my wife, before she was my wife, I was like, yeah, this is my person. Like, I felt that way.
Yeah.
For sure, I felt that connection. And there was chemistry there too, but it had to be turned into compatibility in order to create a long-lasting relationship. We've been together for 10 years. We're still learning, building, going through everything, but that was a big part of it. So that I can get behind. Do you see it that way too, or is there something different in how you see it?
Believe it or not, I used to make compatibility the least important, but that was because I was looking at it the wrong way. Once I kind of looked at the definition again, and compatibility is about 2 people coexisting in harmony.
Yeah.
Then I was like, okay, no, you have to have that. I got caught up more so in, like, let's say a dating site says, okay, we're gonna decide who's compatible. So I view compatible as like an on the paper, it looks good. It's supposed to match. But you can have a lot of people who are supposed to be compatible and it doesn't work.
Absolutely.
So I think that compatibility is that add-on. Once we have the connection and the chemistry, now we have to create that harmony, which is the compatibility.
Yes, I agree with you. And it is interesting how that word compatibility is thrown around.
Mm-hmm.
And you're so right that compatibility on paper doesn't mean compatibility in real life.
Exactly.
And to me, compatibility really has another word inside of it, which is like adaptability and that deeper understanding of an individual where you know how much you're willing to adapt around certain parts of the relationship. But we'll get to that. I think a lot of people, like, and that's where we got into this conversation around what is slow. A lot of people are waiting to feel like, is this person wasting my time or are they the one? And so they don't have a deeper connection. Maybe they had that spark of chemistry and now that's kind of subsided. How do you know if someone's wasting your time? How do you know if you're letting yourself be used or wasted in that way?
So to me, again, I think it always starts with self. And you have to be honest with yourself about, why are you still here? Why are you holding on? What's really driving you? Because, just use an example, let's say you're a woman and the only reason why you're holding on to this guy is because he's a nice guy. You don't feel like starting the process over with somebody else. So even though you're not feeling it with him, you figure, let me try to make it work. You're wasting your time. This is where you're setting yourself up for disaster every single time. So if it's not born out of a true connection, love, a genuine desire, you really like this individual, of course, there's always things we have to work through.